Hello, and welcome to this episode of One-on-One Sports. I'm Ellie Whittington.
And I'm Thomas Hale. We have a great show planned for you, but before that, Ellie and I are going to jump right in with the quick hitters. Last Friday, the United States men's national soccer team defeated Panama 4-0 in arguably their most important World Cup qualifying match ever. There's no doubt that the Stars and Stripes have struggled in the CONCACAF hexagonal, but does this win shift their momentum and mentality for the rest of the qualifying period and beyond, Ellie?
Of course, a win is going to boost your momentum in any sport. So having this big of a win and for the team, I think it's, and I hope that it does.
And with the amount of criticism the U.S. was facing beforehand, we had a lot of draws and losses to teams that we really should have beaten. We're talented enough to beat these teams. It's nice to get a solid win against an opponent. And so do you think they're going to the World Cup?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I think it's been a long time since the U.S. has had a good soccer team, and that I think that it would build momentum around the sport in general.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I think they're going to the World Cup.
And I think that we were pretty primed. It looks like the only way that we'll miss is if we lose to Trinidad and Tobago, we probably won't go, but I'm thinking we're going to beat them. And then also if Panama beats Costa Rica by 8,
wow,
or if Honduras beats Mexico by 12. So I feel like we're in pretty good shape.
And if you don't know the world of soccer, those are huge.
Not gonna happen.
Yes, those are crazy.
Probably not going to happen.
And it's crazy to me to think that like teams like Argentina, with one of the best players in the world, is probably not going to make the World Cup. Is that correct?
Yeah, looks like we're doing all right, huh?
And yeah, so go USA.
Go USA.
Diana Trubisky, Candace Parker, Sue Bird. These are three players that have headlined an incredible group of talent in the WNBA for years. Each of these three players are also the wrong side of 30, and we may start to see them retire from the league. As these stars transition out, which younger WNBA players do you think will take their spot?
How can I not go with a UConn Husky?
Oh.
A UConn Husky out of Seattle with the Seattle Storm, Breanna Stewart. She's such a great player, the 2016 Rookie of the Year. Last year in her first season, she averaged 19 points, nearly 10 rebounds. 4 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals, playing like Draymond Green out there in a couple years.
Hey,
Such a good
now
player.
That's not fair.
Hey, I mean, she brought UConn 4 national championships, and she's bringing Seattle up in the world of the WNBA.
I don't know how you can say that a UConn women's basketball player is not a leader in itself. They have just dominated college basketball moving into the WNBA. Yeah. I cannot disagree, but I think it can take multiple players to continue on, and I'm going with Maya Moore of the Minnesota Lynx. She has just incredible momentum. She hit the game-winning shot in the WNBA to win the championship.
Love it.
Is a 5-time All-Star. I mean, I think credentials and statistics show that you're a good player, but also being a leader in the league is really important.
I can see her being one of those generational players for the WNBA who we'll be talking about 25, 30 years later on.
Interesting. Well, it's going to be interesting. Yes.
On Sunday, the Giants' star wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. took a nasty ankle injury. Odell joins a growing list of star players such as Greg Olsen, J.J. Watt, and Derek Carr that have been knocked out due to injury. Ellie, which of these injuries do you think affects their team the most?
Greg Olsen.
Greg Olsen.
I know that may be a biased opinion, but Greg Olsen is hurting the Panthers with wide receivers. The Panthers have struggled in the last few weeks. They are playing well, but I think that having him out of that lineup is rough. I would agree that also J.J. Watt's injury is major.
Yeah, that one hurts for Houston, especially just after everything that happened there. You hate to see that. But I'm going to go with Odell Beckham Jr.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, simply because now the Giants don't really have any wide receivers.
Well, my thing with it is, in general, the Giants just aren't even playing well to begin with, so it
don't have wide receivers, it could be even worse. Absolutely.
But I think that it's just like their team's just not well. So they really. And the question is, who is hurting their team the worst? Okay, I think even with Odell, they're not going to be playing well.
Even with Odell, at least Eli Manning has anyone to pass to. They lost Odell Beckham Jr. They lost Brandon Marshall and Sterling Shepard to ankle injuries for the rest of the season. And Dwayne Harris, who is like on special teams, but he can sometimes play wide receiver. He's out for the season.
Well, the Giants are done for, and I am really hoping that the Carolina Panthers aren't done for.
Yeah.
And I would love to see Greg Olsen be back on that field.
Giants might need Victor Cruz in the future.
Ooh,
call him back.
Come back. We'll see. Starting this season, a majority of NBA teams will have advertisements on their jerseys. The ads will take up a small patch area on the left chest of every jersey, keeping the classic jersey designs of many teams almost entirely the same. So they're just adding a small bit of patch. However, many speculate that these small ads are just the start for the NBA. So what do you think about these successes in these jerseys, and how is it going to change?
I mean, we've talked about this before privately. I think we both agree that ads can only get bigger at this point in the NBA. I mean, there's just so much money to be made off of advertising in sports nowadays, because that's really the only people turn on the TV for now.
Well, Thomas, I think that this is just the start. And as we were talking about, I think that these games are going to go off of television and be more something that are live streaming. When you have live streaming, we as a generation don't watch commercials anymore.
Right.
And so therefore you're not getting those advertisements. You put it on a jersey, and even if it's live stream, you can see, and then you're going to relate your team with that company.
Absolutely. The only issue that I have with this is that we know that in soccer, ads are all over the jerseys. They're huge. They look like billboard signs, but they use a lot of that money for their transfers. They can use that money to buy other players, spend money on other players. Whereas in the NBA, they don't have a system like that. They're not buying players like that, and they can't really use that money besides anything except for their
money.
organization.
And I think that they have to, if they're not selling these TV rights, which is I think how things are going towards, then they have to make money to be a profitable organization. And I think that this is, it's not something new to our eyes. Think about NASCAR. I've never seen a NASCAR player without an advertisement on his car, on his uniform. And so this is just a transition, and I think that is going to continue whether we like it or not. And I think it's interesting that these players can associate. I've heard that a lot of players, that if someone sponsored their team as like an AAU team or as a little league team, it is more likely that they will sign with that company later on in life.
We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. See if that affects who they'll go to.
Oh, interesting. So this will be good to see, and I think it's going to continue.
We'll expand on that in the lounge later.
Sounds good.
That's all the time we have for Quick Hitters.
But don't go anywhere, because I will be headed to the Diamond to discuss the MLB season award races.